following podcast has an explicit tag. Consider yourself warned.
One, two, three into the folk. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door.
Tonight's episode has been brought to you by the Steve Harvey School of Acting. I'm your host, Jenn, and joining me tonight is always Keith. Wait, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. That's totally on me. That's my fault. See, I'm looking at this card here, and you see, clearly I totally just fucked it all up.
That's a nice little twist. I dug that. Thanks for hiding that from me and not telling me shit, asshole.
You are so very welcome.
The fuck? It's like you don't even fucking love me, you dick.
Yeah, well, we used up all of our love and that kind of emotional shit last.
We really did.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry. I had a moment.
Yeah, we did. No, don't be sorry. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was therapeutic for us. But
and it'll never happen again. So fuck you.
That's fine. I have it on recording, and effective next Tuesday, I will have it saved to my computer forever. I'm gonna have to add some dramatic echoing in there, so it's forever. Not that you'll fucking listen to it.
Fuck you. What the fuck do I need to listen to a show I recorded my damn self for? Can you explain that to me?
So you can give me any feedback.
I listen to it when you ask me to. I don't listen to it after you fucking put it out. That's
oh no! After that, I don't give a shit.
Although I did find out that my mother waits a month and then binge listens to all of our shows. I am forever mortified now for the rest of my life. I mean, there's no turning back now. We already fucking discussed black dicks. There's no fucking turning back now.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So, because I'm assuming nobody else knows what the fuck we're talking about, we're recording this on... The fuck is today?
The 28th.
Today is the it's December 28th. We recorded on the 27th with our friends and recent guests, Chris Squared, Tanner, and Hannah of Cellar Door Skeptics.
I just realized that kind of rhymes. Sorry. Shiny things.
Yes, it does. So we recorded with them. The episode should be out next Tuesday. That's January the 5th. We'll post the shit out of it when it comes out because, one, we love those guys. Two, we love ourselves even more.
At least you admit it.
I admit it. I'm waiting for you to say something. But since you've already heard him laugh, we're continuing our trend of interviewing everybody who's willing to sit down with us and turn on Audacity and let us publish it and not bother signing release forms that apparently aren't necessary. So good for us. So welcome back to the show, David. David?
Hello, David.
Hello, everybody.
It's Davey.
Hello.
So a little while ago, Jen asked me if we could have Dave back on our show, and we tried to plan it out, and we were going to do it.
Because I love Dave.
It's hard not to love Dave. He's, the big lovable Sasquatch.
Gangsta as fuck.
I am
shit.
lovable.
Yeah, he is. He's actually become quite gangsta since the last time we spoke to him. It's amazing.
I am from the Michigan hood.
Word.
Whatever that place is.
That might be.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, there's
So deep in the hood, I don't even remember where I was at.
some shit growing in my water, and that is fucking wrong.
Canadian water.
Right.
It's maple syrup. I thought you knew that.
Nah, that's not maple syrup. I know what maple syrup and water looks like.
That's disturbing.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I was thinking of semen for a second there. Anyways, continue.
No, that's something
So,
I've
David,
never tried. In a glass of water like that, I've never tried that.
You've never... What about in a shot glass?
No. I prefer the direct delivery method. Because, the thought and look of it and the texture of it kind of grosses me out, so I kind of just, pretend it's something else. But if I have to physically look at it, I'll puke.
Huh.
I have texture issues, okay?
Okay. Alright, so...
I'm lost.
There's a reason we brought David onto the show, and right now I'm blanking on it, so I'm gonna let Jen take that one.
Wait, we're not even gonna do, an intro to him or nothing? You are a budget-ass motherfucking host.
Okay, first of all, we have already introduced David.
Oh,
He's been on our show before. We have harassed the shit out of this poor guy, and he's still willing to come
It's
back.
true.
Fuck me for trying to be professional. Shit. Okay. Fuck me. Sideways.
Whoa.
Somebody, please.
This is
Anybody?
definitely a reverse
Harry
role of the
Styles.
show.
Kit Harington, please.
No.
Jon Snow.
Okay.
Anybody?
Okay.
Faster in a cave, please. With the direwolf. Anyway.
Stop it. Stop, please, stop.
That totally went to a different place.
I was waiting to see who was going to pick that up.
Wow.
So, David,
Welcome to Thunderdome, bitch.
can you just remind us of your educational background quickly?
So
Just a recap.
Oh boy. Quick recap.
I know we did this.
So
the
I went to originally Bible college in Michigan. Got my bachelor's degree there, and then moved out here to the wonderful state of Washington. And I've got a master's in forensic psych from Walden University, and am 8 months away from completing a master's in counseling psychology. So I will have 2 masters and a mortgage in the form of student debt.
Oh, that's more than a mortgage, honey. That's
It
your
is.
firstborn and your left
It's
testicle.
actually a mortgage that's for a house that's above my socioeconomic status.
That's literally way above your
So
means.
I'm waiting for the debt to go, I don't belong to you because you're not this important. So,
yeah,
yeah.
Dad isn't like that. Dad is
No.
not like a wife in that regard.
I wish it was. Yeah. But it's all good.
I had a interesting question for you because it's something I've always wondered my entire path to atheism, I guess, if that's what the fuck you want to call it. Why do people who are seemingly intelligent, and I mean intelligent in the sense that they've witnessed science, they've worked with science, they're innovators, they're leaders, they have no problem forming their own opinion, like Ben Carson, who is a very accomplished doctor, very accomplished surgeon, and has witnessed science in action, not actual God, but science in action, but then turns around and says that Joseph used the pyramids to store grain.
Didn't he also use dead babies for surgery at one point in his career?
I'm sure many people have used cadavers. Some people use babies because of.
Oh right, he actually used fetal tissue at some point in time. Anyways, that's just.
Why do you think, given your background, being so educated in theology and kind of coming back on the the psychology end, why do you think people who are seemingly intelligent and have witnessed these scientific miracles, quote unquote, have witnessed the evidence that it's not God, it's science, why do you think they so quickly blindly follow faith still?
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if the term faith was going to come up.
She snuck it in there right at the last second.
I know. So there are a couple of different paths that you can take on it, I guess. The one that I encounter quite often, and this is, this goes down, it's the faith angle, where, you define faith as the belief because of or due to lack of evidence. I actually don't agree that that's a legitimate definition of it. And I think it's easy to say it, because then you can, it's actually rather slick, because if you say that, faith is belief because of or due to a lack of evidence, then what you've essentially done is said all evidence that I've declared as evidence is on my side, none of it's on yours, so clearly then I win by default. Well,
so that's rigging the game.
Okay, it is.
That's it's
intellectually irresponsible. Yeah, I mean it's irresponsible, and the people who do it, I think some of them actually know that's what they're doing, and frankly they don't care. But the issue ends up being that we all select what is going to be authoritative. What is going to be evidence. Evidence doesn't just kind of float around like, concentrated pieces of evil from that absolutely fantastic movie, Explorers. Oh no, it wasn't Explorers. It was what was the movie with the map and the little people and the kid? I'm going on my own tangent.
Labyrinth? I don't.
No, this was
Labyrinth was a trip.
Labyrinth was
my dysfunctional
fantastic.
parents let me watch that at like the age of 6.
I cannot wait to get belligerently high and watch that movie.
It's really trippy to do. Like, I've done it in my much younger days, and it's weird.
Last week.
No, like my.
Yeah,
I
last
wish.
week.
I wish. It's been
So-
years.
Oh right.
So outside of trippy labyrinth stories,
Goonies?
you know, we all you know, we actively select what it is that's going to support our story of reality. I mean, we've done it from childhood onward. This hasn't stopped. So, you know, the people who you know, who have said, you know, this person, this book, this, you know, you mentioned science, you know, somebody who has seen science in action. It's not like science is this guy wandering around who says, I'm science.
That would make life so
you know,
much.
it's like,
Fuck you. That's totally a thing that happens.
Wait, I thought that's what Bill Nye was supposed to do. I thought this was the whole reason Bill Nye
Your
existed.
boy
He
Bill
is-
Nye.
yes.
I thought this was the
I
whole
love that
reason Bill
man.
Nye existed. What are you telling me it's not?
Okay, I have to ask, just because I really don't have much else to contribute to the conversation as of yet. Do you guys know
Sure.
that parody Bill Nye Twitter account? Ya boy Bill Nye. Oh my god, it is hilarious.
No, I have to check this out. I
It
need
is
to be
pretty
more
good.
active on Twitter, but anyway.
Oh yeah. Anyway, sorry.
That one is
Back
pretty
on
good.
track, person who is smarter than I will ever hope to be.
No, it's just yeah, I'm an obsessive reader. So you know, you eventually end up going, okay, wait, this is how I want to picture the world. This is how I've been brought up. This is what I've, you know, determined for myself, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And then you go, okay, well, what's going to support it and what's not? Well, that which supports it is evidence. That which doesn't isn't. So, you know, it's like, you know, so this evidence thing is just, evidence only exists, is identified as such based on
But how?
the theoretical orientation.
But
and I know it's a little, I know it's outside of the normal way
I was
of
thinking of what
looking
evidence
at it.
is. Yeah.
Because people, exactly. I mean, people just kind of go, well, this is evidence for that. And they don't ever bother to step back and go, well, wait a minute. The guy who says that the conclusion doesn't follow from, you know, this is an obvious, you know, logical issue. The person who comes in and says, look, you may have, you know, A, B equals C. Okay, well, what if A and B equal D? What if B doesn't quite fit? And people do these logical things, but then they don't ever stop and go, well, wait a minute. It's not as if A and B ceased being evidence. They just stopped
You're getting
being
kind of hung up
evidence
on
to support
the actual term of evidence.
what
I
you
mean,
wanted.
this was blazing.
No, I agree with him.
I know, I do agree with you.
Because I think
it's
I
like
think what he's getting at without
no, we have solid
what he's trying
actual
to get to
proof
anyways is
that the Egyptians used the pyramids as burial sites for their pharaohs. There's actual proof. Like there's
What?
bodies and shit in there, and where the fuck is the grain? Like, how do you?
Oh,
It's
I'm
in
not.
space.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, and there's not a dispute, and this isn't. You know, I want to be very clear that I'm not going down this kind of, you know, this postmodern anything goes, theory determines truth kind of thing.
oh good,
It's
we can
not
continue
that.
with the interview.
Yeah, it's so not that. What it is an understanding of how people mentally, psychologically determine what it is that they are going to believe. And it's not so much that conscious. It's not like we woke up some morning and gone, oh, I think I'm going to actively engage in determining whether or not this conclusion is actually what follows from this
a lot
set
of the shit that he
you know,
believes
evidence.
in, and a
We
lot
don't
of
do
shit
that.
that's going on in the world now. The conclusion is already there. It's there. It's like, hi, in your fucking
A
yeah, a
conclusion is
conclusion.
certainly.
A conclusion that holds a lot more fucking basis than, okay,
Yep,
here's the sky
and it does.
daddy, and the whole fucking earth flooded, and apparently Joseph saved the planet by storing grain in a fucking pyramid. Like, you know, the doomsday vault. This is
Talk about cornering
right.
the market.
Damn.
The original capitalist.
I mean, come on.
God
No
damn.
wonder.
But it's there's
nobody told
stacked
Trump
the
that
deck
story.
against the Bible and the religions and whatever the fuck you decide you want to discuss this week. Why are people that seem to be intelligent and logical, why do they dismiss that end of it? Why are they just like, no? It's there in your face and you live your fucking life by it. Yeah, but you're like, no, it's false.
But they don't, and neither do any of us. I mean, this is, again, one of those things where when there are a couple of things. One, no single belief is able to encapsulate the entirety of a person.
Understandable.
So from that, not while all beliefs are interconnected within the variety of stories that people have, it does not mean that they all carry the same weight, and they're all then contextual. So, for instance, you probably have a belief, most people do, of getting hit by a car is going to hurt
because there's actual proof and evidence that yes, it's going to fucking hurt.
Exactly, it's going to hurt. Two objects, same space, not going to
nerve endings, shit hurts.
Laws of physics.
Exactly. Well, so backing up a bit then, physics. Really? Do you need to have a belief in understanding in physics to have a belief that getting hit by a car is going to be
there's more proof outside of just physics.
Okay. Well, okay. But see, there it is. So say a person comes to you and says, have you ever been hit by a car? You're like, well, okay. For the sake of the point,
you outlying piece of
we'll
shit.
say, I haven't. I've never been hit by a car.
It's not pleasant.
Well, then how do you know?
Well, then how do I know?
And then
because
the person's rightly going to go, well, how do you know?
I can pull up textual evidence. One, of people who have been hit by cars. Two, of biology studies that say...
So now you've got...
nerve endings. Hit.
So now you've got...
it's going to hurt.
Authority. You've got consensus.
It's going to hurt. Physics
You've got,
saying that if two fucking objects try to occupy the same space, it's going to be fucking violent. Okay.
Yep. Well, and it's not that I disagree, but what you have done now is gone for what would typically be looked at as the fallacy of consensus, the fallacy of authority.
But
now we're getting
into it makes my brain hurt.
So this is, and again, it's about stepping back and going, wait a minute, and going further with that. Okay, at what point? And everybody's done this because we've all been kids. It's like, at what point in our lives have we ever held something that later on we figured out, wait a minute, that's just such bullshit.
The fuck you
like
talking
this,
about Santa Claus
that is
for?
not true. Exactly. I mean, how many beliefs have we had from childhood?
Yeah, but you can't even compare childhood to adulthood because brain process. Because the way your brain processes information between childhood and adulthood is very different.
It's gotten better. It's gotten more complicated, but it hasn't shifted anything.
It's very different.
You're still processing.
And you're able to understand more as an adult than you were as a child. When you but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you're processing differently. It's still a thought process, but you're able to understand more complex thought processes as an adult than you are as a child. We're not talking about if Santa. Actually, yeah, we kind of are talking about if Santa exists or not. But it's I don't understand. Yeah, but when we were presented with the evidence that no, look, it's your fucking parents buying shit, we were like, oh.
And yet, what would be another conclusion? Maybe they're lying. People do that.
No, but when you're born with proof that you run up on the fucking stash in your parents' closet, light bulb moment. Now here's Ben Carson.
Maybe Santa dropped it off ahead of time.
With a fucking history book in front of him that says, no, look, this body's here. We've got tunnels. There's no fucking wheat. There's no weed. There's no nothing in these bitches. Yet turns around and still says, where's the fucking...
Not to mention the raging fire
where's the fucking light bulb moment for him?
I'm not sure he's saying that there is any in there now.
Well, there might have been as far as like
go back to the original.
You know how they did bury
at this point they would have they would have gone bad and
right. But I mean, like it's more than been determined that these are tombs many times over with visual evidence, and this is the gifts in the closet moment right here. So what?
Sort of.
What possesses this man, and I don't understand this, that his own hands have contributed to scientific miracles that wouldn't have been attributed to a miracle of God or a miracle of faith or Jesus or whatever the fuck. His own hands perform these. So why hasn't there been this conscious shift of, wait a minute?
Well, because again, not every, it comes back to the weight issue. We create these stories, but depending on our social context, the bits of evidence in the forms of beliefs that take place have different weight. Coming back to the car thing, if you believe this, okay, yep, got a lot of evidence that you've chosen to say, yes, this obviously is going to be true. I'm going to err on the side of, well, if I'm wrong,
I'm going to find out in a really
it's okay,
bad way,
but if I'm right about this, I'm not going to, this is almost like, a Pascal's wager when it comes to do cars hurt.
Pascal,
so,
that asshole.
Yeah, and he's been, yeah, anyway.
No.
So, you go, so you go into that and you go, okay, well, wait, what, is there another way of looking at this? And for instance, when you're, I don't know, you're in the middle of, I don't know, a bike race or whatever, you're the belief that a car, if it hits you, is going to hurt is simply not something you think about at the moment. You're at home on your couch, and does the belief that a car hits you is going to hurt matter to you at all, really, right now? I mean, it has no weight. There's nothing there for it to serve a purpose. But
why is it that seemingly intelligent people like him tend to disregard or even look at any other evidence or even consider another viewpoint? Hence the blind aspect.
Well,
it's like, okay.
I mean, two things on that. One, I don't consider him a moron.
I know he's not a moron by any stretch of the imagination. He's an incredibly intelligent man. I can't fucking do what he does. I can't. My brain just doesn't work that way. There are other things that I am skilled at. There's shit like that. No, that's just not it for me. But what is with the and I've seen this a lot with people, quote unquote, of the faith, of religion, whatever, that you will put evidence in front of them saying, no, this is contradictory, and they literally will completely shut their eyes and be like, no, it was put here to test.
I don't think they have to shut their eyes at all, because you're, again, coming back to evidence, your simple delivery of evidence assumes a particular way of looking at it.
But it's the fact that they won't even acknowledge that they're going to look at this another side to it. This is
why
basic human nature.
If it comes back to this
wanting to learn.
Well, basic human nature appreciates consensus and authority.
It does.
We've been doing that from
We've also been advancing ourselves and learning and teaching each other forever as well.
And we've also been wrong.
We've been wrong more times than we've been fucking right.
To count.
But what is it with, and I'm not saying all certain people, and you know which ones I'm talking about, them ones, Jesus is everything, and I don't care what you put in front of me. Yeah. Them dinosaur bones is put here by the devil to test me. Those people is who I'm talking about. You have fucking dinosaur bones in front of you, and it's like...
I can't help but sit here and try to interject at least at some point based off a recent experience that I've had dealing with an authority figure of the Catholic Church. And let me tell you, they are not above being fucking dishonest.
No, absolutely not. No human being is. My fucking 4-year-old isn't above being dishonest. He lied to me today. So, did you go pee in the potty? Yes, there was no fucking pee in that potty. My fucking 4-year-old's not above being dishonest.
Because he wanted to watch TV.
Exactly. My fucking 4-year-old's not above being dishonest.
So I do think that hearing that lie kind of caters to specific cognitive biases.
But what?
And I'm hoping Dave is
we all have
what draws the line between the instinct for human comfort and the instinct for human knowledge? Because I do see that a lot of people tend to fall back into that faith and won't view another side of it because it's comforting. Nobody wants to admit that everything they believed in was wrong. Nobody.
Well, we all do it. I mean, how many times have we been in, for instance, a romantic relationship, and tons of
talking to the recent divorcee.
So I mean, and there's several other people who are sitting there going, "Why don't you see the evidence? Clearly, this person is a horrible, horrible person. Why can't you see it? It's right there in front of me. The evidence is clear."
What do you think it is in the brain that triggers people to run more towards the instinctual comfort than the instinctual knowledge?
Well, I mean, there's you have the. Yeah, I'm not going to get into neurophysiology.
Why?
Why?
Because it's more of a hobby interest than an expertise.
It's more of a hobby interest for me too.
I'm quickly going to be going.
What do you think it is about the human psyche that most people, and I do say most people want to run for that instinctual comfort instead of instinctual knowledge?
I'd say not just most, everybody. It just depends on which area of their life in a given time frame that you're talking about. And so there ends up being a couple of things with that, where for one, we generally go towards pleasure and away from pain
because it hurts,
or rather toward. I'm not entirely certain. I don't like that phrasing, but we do, I think, instinctively go towards what we consider beneficial to us, and away from that which we don't consider. So, but the trick there is that the things that are beneficial and the things that are detrimental are not clear cut. We are very, very capable of putting all sorts of things in one category or the other that are in long term or in different social context or whatever. Quite clearly the opposite. I mean, it's just. The too much of a good thing is usually that one quip that people say.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and so the way that we, and all of that goes to, okay, we are selecting that which serves our benefit. Well, comfort's one of them. It's a value. I think it's a really important value. What form that takes obviously is going to be as broad as humanity. And this is one of those. So where do you go? How do you deal with that? Well, for one, you'll start looking at it and going, okay, wait. This person has this belief, even somebody, like Carson, which frankly, I would love to be able to sit down with him.
You know what? Better you than me, because I'd last about 5 minutes before I walk out of the fucking room. I'd be like...
Well, and the reason I would last longer is because I don't care what he thinks about the pyramids.
It's not just the pyramids.
Do I care? Yeah. Do I care what he thinks about it in a context of running for president? Yes. Do I care if he's just this guy that I happen to come across and I'm sharing some drinks with?
As long as he's not operating on my brain or fucking running my country, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But...
Exactly. Well,
or telling my children
that's one of those things where you're
like, built for grain, or that the Mount Rushmore was actually done by nature. Shit like that.
He's got a theory about Noah's Ark too on Mount. Was it him?
Oh yeah, Mount Ararat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been They find it about every 10 years.
No, we've been working on average every 5 now. It's amazing. But apparently, apparently, I think it's Turkey that won't give us access to the mountain.
Clearly behind.
Yeah, it's Turkey that I think it's Turkey that won't give us access to the mountain to go retrieve Noah's Ark.
Okay. Allegedly.
ISIS? Where's ISIS? Can we do something fucking productive here? You fuckers are right there. Can we get up the fucking mountain and go look at this goddamn thing? Shit.
Well, and right there, I mean, you're going, the people, this is where people start going, well, it's conspiracy theory. Well, the funny thing about conspiracy theory is that everything, many things sound like conspiracy theories until they end up going, oh, wait,
I wouldn't be surprised that if I personally think conspiracy theories have a very small baseline of truth to them.
Oh, they all do. I mean, none of them are going to be based on
with the exception of the lizard
Jet
people.
fuel can't melt steel beams, okay?
With the exception of the lizard people, because the lizard people that...
Oh. Hey, that was an awesome Doctor Who episode.
Supposedly, I'm supposed to be one of these lizard people.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
It
Apparently,
would explain so much.
my blood means that I eat human beings to shapeshift from my lizard form. And I mean, granted, I do have that oblong alien-shaped head thing. I know this. But...
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but...
but...
Yeah.
My eyes are green, not gold. Thank you very much.
It's called colored contacts.
Maybe. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
So by the end of this episode, we will have proven that Jenn is in fact a lizard
Sorry,
person.
stop the headset. I'm sorry.
And we will have contacted David Icke.
Oh, God, no.
I have
No.
no idea
Don't
what
bring that man fucking near me. Because I would do some elaborate ass face paint and sit here looking like a fucking reptile and being like, I'm an Aldrich.
Oh my God.
Real form!
Have you guys seen that Tumblr thread where they're talking about trans Jesus?
No.
Yeah, about Jesus, having 2 X chromosomes but being an X male or something like that. Well, anyways, somebody added to it by saying that there are some lizards that they can asexually reproduce and females can do it or males can do it. Blah blah blah. Anyways,
We've evolved.
somebody was like, I wonder what kind of reptile Jesus was, and I went, David Icke intensified. Jesus Christ.
But now I'm curious to this. If you look at the span of human history, and early in human history, more often than not, they went more for the quest of knowledge and the quest for advancement over the quest of comfort. Do you think that...
Yeah, that's gonna... one, it depends on which area
I'm talking
you're
about
looking
as far
at,
as...
and two... It depends on how you define comfort and knowledge.
Coming out of the cave to
knowledge
being
is
where
bringing comfort.
we're at now, as far as that aspect of it.
Well, it depends again on what you're looking at as comfort. I mean, quite frankly, there are times in which, and this is rather funny, we've come out of the caves only for millions of years later to have the height of so-called male achievement to go back and go, what? Create your own man cave. I mean, so
that is an excellent parallel.
girlfriend
I'm
would hate
actually
you.
really digging that. That's an excellent parallel, really.
Yeah.
But it's it's comfort for them,
and there
not
it is.
leaving
Who decides what's comfort?
for them, and comfort to them in the equal sense of what we have now, as far as faith, would be not leaving that cave and thinking that crazy demons, whatever, controlled eclipses and floods and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But yet some of them, more often, it seems to be more so than not, quote unquote, got up out of the cave, invented the wheel, and put humanity on the track to where it's supposed to be now. Do you think that the incredibly large numbers of people who would rather find the comfort in their faith over the fear of knowledge, which are both basic human instincts, do you think that pretty much means that we're at our pinnacle of we're at our peak of human advancement?
Not even close. Well, and I say that primarily because I don't think the two are at war with one another. There are any number of times throughout human history in which, Islam, for that matter, was at one point, the Muslim land was the pinnacle of scientific and literary achievement.
Yeah, that was like
exactly
800-900 years ago.
Exactly.
I learned that
they
on
were
Cosmos.
freaking amazing. Yep. And
You could see my
absolutely
face.
incredible. And yet, many of them held, to our ears, utterly ridiculous notions about other things.
Hell, Isaac Newton, the guy who gave us,
thank you.
What theories? How many fucking theories has
alchemy?
Oh my God.
Been attributed to? But yeah, the man believed in alchemy.
Exactly.
But
I
they
love,
use their comfort as far as
those...
advancements. At least what I'm seeing now is the rejection of knowledge and the rejection of coming out of the comfort zone to find out what it is in favor of this blind comfort and this blanket. And I'm wondering if we're actually...
But it's blind. It's blind largely to yourself. I mean, from their perspective, they're looking at it as going, look, we've been wrong before. The people who are on one side are being looked at as hiding have in history ended up on being in the reverse later on when they ended up being accurate. And all you have to do is just simply follow consensus and authority. you have to select a particular authority. You have to select, you get into your own little group, and you have then the echo chamber of support. Okay. And frankly, we all do it.
We all do it. But,
I mean, that's
we also have to look at history.
What tribalism is all about.
Religion at one point promoted the advancement of science and understanding God and trying to know God, to where now it almost works against that. We're kind of going back into this dark age of religion where... And
I'm not entirely certain that it's religion that one, I don't consider religion to be this monolithic thing. But, the say we identify religion as a belief in that all things are tied together, which for quite a long time, frankly, Christianity still agrees with that.
They think that everything's tied together under their God.
Well, certainly God holds it all together. I mean, whether or not you're going from Bishop Berkeley, and idealism all the way down.
But we're seeing a regression point now to where, in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, not so much the Middle Ages, but the Renaissance age, where faith was used as a form of advancement towards science, towards understanding, towards quote-unquote God. Now it seems to be that we're realizing from this advancement that it's not, in fact, God. It's...
It depends on which group of people you're looking at.
For the major religions.
Despite all of the...
I'm encompassing the major religions here, the big three.
I would... Well, and I'm not even saying... And actually, I would say that by and large, you still have... You have a very vocal minority. And do they get their way of looking at the world from within the religious context? Absolutely. I'm not going down the regressive left path. But what it is a version of it. It is a version of that is just as legitimate. Why? Because again, they have for any number of reasons some confluence of issues that have gone, this provides a way for me to deal with the world. And then they are, treated with this authority, i.e. of some form of scripture, a institution,
an interpretation
and
of
then,
it,
of course,
whatever,
an omnipotent God. Exactly. And they go, wow, okay, now this makes sense. And then, of course, by and large, they don't actually have to live that all the time.
The cherry pictures.
They don't have to. It's not even cherry picking. Cherry picking really is kind of it's really an unfortunate because really what's going on there is you're saying, well, they're consciously doing that. I don't think most of the people are consciously doing this at all, and it's just simply that this is the way we do things. How often, for instance, we know through physics that what looks to be solid matter is in fact, individual atoms with truly more space between them than the atoms themselves.
Correct.
Okay, so based on that belief, why then should we look at this as a solid? Well, clearly we're not going to look at it as a solid based purely on that. We're going to go to experience.
That's why.
We're going to... Well, no, and that's just it. If we're looking at just that isolated notion that there is space between all of these atoms, we're not going to look at that as an isolated belief and go and end up acting on it. If we were to, we'd do some really stupid stuff.
That'd be kind of
Instead, it would be kind of fun.
Dude, stoner, eat your heart out.
Until, of course, you hit your head on the wall. But what do? Well, we contextualize that understanding of matter and go, well, okay, that understanding of matter is really, really important over here, but the belief that if I smack my head against a wall, it's going to hurt is really, really important over here.
But it comes down to the point that eventually you have to meet. And I'm starting to wonder if this...
Why?
Because that's just how life is. Shit meets. pretty soon you're gonna figure it out
Not
that
always.
matter.
Wow, that was very philosophical.
I've been in this like
That's a
total
T-shirt.
philosophical mood
That
today.
is,
So.
I want that on a shirt.
I want that on a
Just
bumper
Sooner
sticker.
or later,
I mean, as far as like
stuff
matter and
meets.
atoms and shit, come in and with the smacking your head against the wall. If you smack your fucking head against the wall, there's atoms in that fucking wall that are gonna make it fucking hurt. There you go, boom, they came together. But
But the belief itself didn't end up having, anything. It's not like all of a sudden, well, wait a minute, I hit my head. Now I get to jettison the notion that there's space in between these particles.
Well, see, that's how my brain
Why?
works. My
Because,
fucking
again,
brain actually works like that.
Context.
It's like, okay, why? And then what's
But
in the
you-
wall?
no,
And then
no,
what does
no,
that
no,
break it
I
down?
don't think you followed
That's
me.
how my brain works. This is why I kind of have a hard time.
But that's just it. If you hit your head, you're not going to get rid of the notion that what you just hit is actually a great deal of space involved. It's just that
You just hit a stop. Yeah.
space ends up being relative.
But I'm wondering now
to
that with this
the object.
momentum of denial by the minority, are we coming to this? I don't want to say crusades moment because I really don't want to believe that it'll
I
come
do.
to that again. I'm kind of that's the humanitarian end of me, that bleeding heart humanitarian end. But do you think that we're now coming at a point of
We'll see.
of just kind of human consciousness that we're gonna have to battle the faith versus the reason? Just because of where we are at in scientific advancement, and it's so opposed to what's being explained by faith. And these are the two main.
I honestly don't think that there is a war, so to speak, between reason
No,
and
not
faith,
as the
if they're
whole,
on
but
two
between the
different
people.
sides.
There are.
Well, and at that point, then what you're going to have then is what we already do, and what we've always had. We have groups of people who have a particular way of viewing
Right, but
the
it
world
seems to be
and their place
the
in it.
number that are leaving the faith-based thinking seems to now be almost equal as to those who are becoming extreme about it. It's
There's some really
we're
interesting
kind of
stats on
we're
it.
both kind of drawing away from the middle point, and I'm wondering if this is
Mhm.
going to have some kind of an effect on human consciousness as a whole. Is this the boil point? Is this the
Depends on how many people who think that are in power.
Ooh,
I mean, it's
that's a
really.
good- I mean, is this
it's
the
an
quote
interesting
unquote
point.
Armageddon?
Carson gets into power. Fuck.
Is this the quote unquote arm? Are we
Well,
at
it's
the
not
quote
even.
unquote
I'm not
Armageddon
even worried.
to where eventually
Yeah.
some kind of view is going to have to break, and either the scale is going to tip towards those leaving the faith or those becoming extreme? Are we at that point? Are we at the climate change horizon point?
Mm-hmm. There's some interesting here where,
And I'm talking as a
Steven Pinker-
worldwide human consciousness collective
Oh
level.
yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
I'll get to that. So Pinker has come out a while back with the Better Angels of Our Nature book, and his contention is through some rather incredible analysis of just historical data on violence and murders and so on and so forth, that we actually are in the most peaceful time in human existence. So or at least known,
regardless of what
known
you may
human
see
history.
on the news, we are right.
Exactly. So and as soon as I heard this, I'm like, okay, that's actually rather interesting. I looked at some of the data. I'm like, okay, I can buy this. I get that. But here's the caveat to that. We have the capacity now. A single person has the capacity to do as much violence as what it took a million people to do
200, 3, well, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 years ago.
Even a couple hundred years ago. So what you have now is this, yes, overall we have humanity seemingly going, you know what, despite all of these various difficulties we have with how we view the world, by and large, we're not looking, at least the people currently in power, are not looking to, start nuking everybody.
Well, at least not the majority of those in power are not. Right.
Again, in those in power. So the difficulty then comes is that what happens then when people who are, I'm reminded of, the George, W. And he, and how did he decide that, hey, you know what? I do believe that the Iraq strategy is going to work. Well, supposedly the story goes
I'm pretty sure that
walking through the rose garden,
Cheney decided that
and
that
a
was
light
going to.
appeared, and God told him.
Wait, what?
So,
are you serious? I've never heard this.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I have to put a little bit of a question on that because I'm not sure if it's
as accurate
as that.
We can kind of spin a religious aspect on that.
Not true. Please email us.
Right.
Yes, please. By all means, I would love to be proven wrong on that.
This actual religious. This is the kind of shit that will trigger fucking crazy people to think that this is Armageddon, that this was the start of Armageddon.
Mm-hmm. Well, people every time there's a war,
right? But no, when the leader of what is now being described as a Christian nation, quote unquote, tells him that God tells him to start a fucking war in damn near almost the epicenter of the Islamic world.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did use the term crusade.
Quite a few times.
Oh, fuck.
He was well aware of
crazy fucking people now.
What he was doing.
Because this term, but I do not think it means what he thinks it means.
Crazy fucking people will actually take that as. Because I'm sorry, even that looks a little crazy to me. You know what I mean? That's a whole
depending on. Well, again, depending on your a group person's theological background, Harris is absolutely spot on. There is a group that if a mushroom cloud appeared over some area of Israel, they would be like, hell yes, Jesus is coming back. Right. And, the Hal Lindsays of the world.
They'd be fucking flocking to Megiddo to, watch the final battle go down.
And here's something that I will note as a criticism there is of Harris is that while I agree that is true, I will also say though that single belief, again from what I mentioned very at the beginning, does not encapsulate the entirety of this group. They could very well be going, hell yes, Jesus is coming back, and they're excited about it. At the same time, they will also then have the belief of, holy shit, this is absolutely horrific. All of those poor people.
Yeah.
And there is absolutely no hypocrisy there. None.
Are we at the stall of human consciousness with faith? Or do you believe that we're actually starting to migrate past the need for it?
I don't think faith in and of itself is a way of well, and so if we look at faith as a kind of, and I've written on this actually before, where faith is in my opinion the ultimate in self-reference. It's the identification of I decide what is good, what is supportive of my perspective, and we all do it. We all have to. We all have to engage in some bit of activity of faith. Depending on a context.
No, this is bullshit.
If I go in and I need, my computer fixed. I never need my computer fixed because I have a Mac and they never break down. But so hopefully I get a check in the mail from Apple now.
Can I get one of these? I've been using a fucking Alienware forever. When's Dell gonna fucking pay me?
If people still think that Mark Zuckerberg's gonna give them money on Facebook,
you know what? If that's what makes them happy,
that Apple
whatever.
Will...
Which is a way we can look at a lot of religion. Is if it makes you fucking happy, honey.
Well, we can look at it in a number of things, and again, it comes back to beliefs have certain weight depending on the social context. A person, and this is where it's so easy and frankly disingenuous and I think I actually used that word wrong for this, but it's very easy to identify, get up in somebody's face and start questioning their way of viewing the world and have them, get all emotional and all upset. And then they say something egregiously stupid. And then you go, aha, see, I knew it. You are actively choosing to ignore everything that I'm saying because this is what you want. And all you care about is feeling good about yourself. And you're like, okay, you know what? I don't know about you, but I've had multiple times in my life where I got rather emotionally upset and said some things that, in retrospect, really rather stupid. Everybody's done that. And well, it's okay, except so all present company
Canadian,
except
they all
for
think that.
Yep.
No, we're just
And
that
so,
polite, eh?
I'm not the only one. That's perfect. We all are.
Hey, with Justin Trudeau as president, I'm
that man. No,
actually
that
on,
man.
Or as
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
No, that man is fucking perfect. That man is absolutely fucking perfect.
He's so pretty.
Oh my
too.
god, he's pretty and he's compassionate. And he's got a fucking fantastic ass. That man is perfect. Perfect. Sorry. Fangirling on Justin Trudeau again.
Yes. So so here you go. I mean, you have this person who then says something stupid, and then what happens? Well, the humanist, atheist, whatever, starts going, see, this proves that I'm right about all faith people who are this way. And you're going, you know what? Grow up.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
it's just, this
really
is so unhelpful.
Quote unquote atheist. This is a really fucked up way to say it, but is atheism the new religion? Is atheism the new faith?
I'm not even gonna go there.
In the comparison.
Frankly, I think
text,
atheism is a non-term.
in the comparison aspect of it, are we moving past the need for God?
Well, it depends on what you mean by God.
The big divine creator.
It's past it when we crawled out of the primordial soup.
No, but the big divine creator.
In one sense,
the Almighty, the All-Knowing, the Controller, the Ruler, the gates of heaven and hell, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I love this.
I actually had a conversation with somebody once where I swear, Christianity is kind of like the U-Haul of religions. If you're going to use a moving truck, what are you going to do? I'm going to go get a U-Haul. Everybody goes to that. And it doesn't matter what truck you use, you're still, I'm gonna go use a U-Haul. And yet, so every time people start talking about religion, particularly in the States, what do people go to? Well, we don't need religion because we don't need the heaven and Jesus and all this.
Fine.
Okay,
the 72
let's understand here.
And
that's also rather narrow.
I'm talking all of this shit.
Thousands of religions out there.
The entire. You go to another plane when you die if you're a good fucking person, and there is some kind of almighty, all-being creator or creators that control everything. Are we moving
Not every religion has a creation story like that.
Are we moving past that on a human conscious level? Where we don't need the catch-all explanation for the unknown.
I don't think we're ever going to need that. We're ever going to, come out of that. I mean, whether or not it's well, it depends on what you mean by even catch-all.
Well,
I mean, like parsing out the language.
Okay. Oh, look at space. Well, God did it. Or.
Well, you know what? I actually would say that the barring the very, very, very select minority, we're talking 0.00001%. Of people you come into contact with, that in almost to the point where, frankly, any cognitively capable human being who happens to also hold religious beliefs, nobody believes that. Yeah. Nobody actually follows that.
Really?
Nobody says, even if they say, well, God did it. They might say that in this particular context, and by and large, they'll say it when they're cornered. They found out that they're ignorant about something.
No,
nobody likes it.
More often than not.
And so, what do they say?
Down here.
It's a feeling of cognitive dissonance.
especially living down here, I've actually
which
witnessed people turn around and I've asked them, okay, well, how do you explain, space and the stars and, just everything, fucking everything that you don't understand. What? And they've actually looked at me and said, God created the heavens on fucking whatever day, and I can't pull the fucking day out of my ass.
Whatever.
Because I can't. I'm on fucking Tuesday. I don't know. I can't pull the fucking day out of my ass right now.
10 minutes ago.
Yeah. God, God created that on 11:57 on a Tuesday morning. You know what I mean? Are we moving past that to say no? It's not some higher being in the you're gonna fucking burn in a fucking horrible place if you die type of shit. I'm not talking about higher. You know what I mean.
Yeah, no shit.
No, I know. I laugh because the selection. I mean, you're proving everything that we've been mentioning.
It's very rare to find a religion that doesn't believe in some form of higher controlling power.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm not talking. Look, I could sit here all fucking night with you and start picking apart fucking tribal religion.
I mean, there's any number, and it depends on even what you mean by a higher controlling power. I've been involved in groups where it's a form of panentheism.
Yeah,
where you essentially have.
We don't have the time for fucking pantheism right now.
Or I said panentheism. It's a little different.
Oh my god.
So
this is why I hate having him on sometimes, because he gets way too fucking caught up in like the minute bullshit. This is why I fucking hate having him on sometimes. I'm trying to get the all-encompassing fucking conversation here, and he's like, no, like.
Because it's not just.
But here it is. It is exactly, and this is frankly, Chris Hanna. He laughs all the time because I very much once or twice a week now on average, I end up getting portrayed as this kind of religionist in atheist clothing, and
you
the reason for it is
programming
because
back there somewhere.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'll be the first one to admit
they haven't fully defragged
in there. And I don't know if I ever will, and I'm not entirely certain that I ever want to get rid of all of it. I can honestly say that the notions of, for instance, God created the heavens and the earth, and so therefore all truth is God's truth. All truth will lead then to God. That was a guiding principle,
and that's what I mean.
Behind me continuing to search. Without that principle, I would not be here today.
But do you think that as a human
I have no problem
collective, a human consciousness collective, that we're moving past that?
Past the notion of a higher power?
Of the higher power in the spiritual sense.
No. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it. It'll take different forms. We'll have, I think there's likely going to be an increase in more and more liberal forms. Eventually, barring, catastrophe, the reform movements in Islam will probably win out. It's inevitable, I think, because we, human beings, we don't simply need change. We are change. We cannot help ourselves but participate in life. Because we are
the organic, changing, living beings.
We are doing exactly. We can't help but do this. So reform is not simply a current activity; it's an inevitable activity. Now, how long it takes, what kind of horrible things happen in the meantime? You know what? I am.
But you don't ever
I don't want to hold my breath.
I mean, fuck, humans have been around for millions of years now. Who knows how much fucking longer we're gonna go? Nobody does. Nobody. We could be here when the fucking sun blows up, and that's
next Tuesday.
That exactly, or next Tuesday, fucking Jong Jr. can get a little fucking froggy and start blowing people off the fucking map. We don't know. But do you ever think that in human history we are ever going to see a society that says no, there is no higher spiritual reasoning? This is scientific and it's organic, and here it is.
No.
No?
No. And I say that because, again, my notion of spirituality, I think even within, you're still going to have notions, transcendent notions. You're still going to have, well, what is society? Well, it's more than one individual person. You're still going to have love. You're still going to have hope. You're still. I mean, these are what values are. Values are transcendent.
But I mean, aside from that, I mean, do you think we're ever going to come into a point where it's no, yes, love is a wonderful thing, and so is pain, and so is fear, but it's scientifically explained, and it's not given to you by some soul or by some spirit or by some supernatural divine being. No, everything that's here and everything we believe in this society is proven, and it's organic, and it's from the earth or from space or whatever the case may be. And in a sense, replacing the God notion, the Yahweh, the Jehovah, the Muhammad notion is space. And it says, no, the closest thing we have to a higher power is really what our creator is, which is proven to be the cosmos. Do you think we are ever going to move into that level of consciousness as humans?
I actually just had the mental picture of, 1,000 years from now, we're still, people are still around.
If we haven't managed to blow ourselves off the planet at this point.
Exactly. And so, you picture 1,000 years from now, and people are doing what then is the equivalent of a podcast. And so, and people are going, yes. And so people, get into this conversation about, and at that point you have these people who are going, I have to ask the question, are we ever going to get past these really ridiculous and absurd notions of love and hope? And I mean, these groups talk about these things, but haven't we figured out that these things are the movements of interconnected chemicals and whatever we've determined communicates between people, whatever that
neurons
is.
And hormones and people talk about it. Pheromones and everything.
Shouldn't we get to a point where society will eventually just get rid of all these other terms?
But no, see, I don't see it like that, because
understand
that has a scientific basis as to why it happens. We don't fall in love because some fucking sky daddy said this is what I'm going to make humans do, because watching them fall apart at heartbreak is fucking hilarious.
Heartbreak Hotel.
Exactly. I need a new miniseries. I need a new Lifetime miniseries. So let me slap these two totally wrong people together and watch this fucking play out for a while.
I'm pretty sure that domestic violence is the only way to get a Lifetime series now.
And cancer and teenage pregnancy.
Disturbingly.
Oh, could you imagine like domestic abuse with cancer and teenage pregnancy? Like a teen mom, she's not actually pregnant; she just has a really big tumor.
They actually had they had Lifetime movies like this. They had Lifetime movies like this.
I would love a show on Lifetime where it was, you know what? I studied psychology and human communication, and I actively engaged people in honest and open, dialogue.
No, that's fucking
where we
boring.
sought together to figure out how this works.
Boring. But I mean, are we going to
tune into that for maybe one episode? To the point
where we're like, okay,
one episode.
Yes, love exists and pain exists and fear exists, but it, it can be explained. Are we ever going to move past that soul spiritual bullshit, the religious bullshit?
No.
To actually live.
It's not going to be for a while.
To live actually as a society where, quote unquote, our religion
are we going
would
to move
be
past
actual
certain forms?
Space and evidence
and then we get on evidence again.
And actually come to this collective consciousness where everyone turns around and is like, oh shit, this makes sense. What the fuck are we fighting about?
Yeah, but you're always going to have those people who go. But that's just it. You're going to have people who go, in fact, you know what? Actually, I'm going to disagree. I hope we never get to that point. I hope we never get to the point where people go, we figured this out.
Because that would mark the end
what
of
that actually is
advancement.
Is, there is the same version
not in the sense of
religious piety.
Oh shit, we figured it out. There's always going to be something else to discover in our world. It's just part of living in an organic environment.
I would love to get into a place where it is more and more acceptable, and I think this is actually the core issue here of throughout, is that we do not find ourselves being very comfortable with uncertainty. We do not like our own ignorance. We do not like it having pointed out. We do not question
have a
marks.
child.
There was a group actually.
And you will see
we hate
that
him.
happen actually with past generations.
Exactly. People look at kids and they're like, well, they're asking questions all the time. You know why? Yes, they're inquisitive. That's the positive version of it. But on the other side of it is they don't like not knowing.
And that's human nature.
And all you have to do is just go, that never stops. None of us like not knowing.
But are we ever going to move to the point?
If we can fill that gap with something, we're going to do it. And we do it all the damn time. So what I would really, really love is actually a societal shift to being able to go, I don't know, and that's okay.
Or I don't know.
So
right there, would solve so many problems.
I don't know. Let's figure it out. I don't know. Let's figure it out instead of I don't know. So God did it.
Well, or I don't know. So therefore, science has the answer.
Right. Well, but to me, it's religion and God and faith, and no matter what the fuck you believe in, whatever, I'm talking back in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance age and before that, it was totally feasible for somebody to say, I have no idea why the fucking sky is blue. I have no idea why we have fucking eclipses. So it would make sense to blame it on some fucking supernatural being that's controlling fucking everything. As we advance as humans, we're learning that that's not the case. So you really don't think that we're not going to advance as humans to the point where we're going to figure out that everything anyone ever pinned on something supernatural actually has an explanation, and we move past this, okay, I don't know, so God did it explanation?
Because the notion of the notion of the supernatural, which is based on, I think, the drive of faith, is never going to get away.
But when does the supernatural shift to
ultimately
from?
It just changes form. I mean, it just any more than it's changed.
But
I mean,
the cop-out form of it.
Even Christianity and Islam, for that matter. I mean, Christianity, you look at it and you go, well, wait a minute. The vast number of believers simply don't. If they were faced, I love, for instance, like C.S. Lewis. It's one of all Protestants all over just start having some kind of spiritual orgasm about the man. And when going through Bible college, I just laughed my ass off. Because I'm like, most of the people who love reading him, and of course it's very selective. They go to the Chronicles of Narnia or fiction. It's kind of like, I swear, people who love C.S. Lewis are very similar to the people who like Ayn Rand. But,
it kind of is that same.
It's really kind of weird. So they'll go to the fiction, or they'll go to his one about depression, or they'll go to the Screw Tape Letters, which is again fiction. And so they'll go, oh my God, yes, he just really understands. And I'm like, you know what? If you were actually able to talk to him, he was still alive, he walked into your front door, you were actually to have a conversation about theology, you would burn him at the stake. Like, he believed things that you find utterly reprehensible as an Anglican, and you're a modern Protestant. You're going, this is so...
What is wrong with you? Oh my God, you blasphemous fuck. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so, and so we can look at that and go, well, wait a minute. Selection pressures, this gets into memetics. Selection pressures,
which is
societal
it's like
changes
people,
on,
it's like
everything else.
Republicans that say, oh, I love Rand's work, I think she was so fucking innovative, but then turn around and call fucking Bernie Sanders a socialist. Like,
oh yeah,
do you read her shit, or does it just does the spark of revolution kind of make you feel tingly in your little lady parts? I mean, what are we doing here? I personally think that we're starting, and it's not going to come overnight. It's probably not going to come in my generation, my children's generation, maybe his children, possibly not. But I think we're moving into this consciousness of, we're never going to know everything. We're not. There's just fucking way too much shit out there.
Hell, I don't even know what everything means.
Just everything. Just everything that could possibly be fucking out there. We're just not going to know it. We have to come to terms with that fact. But I think we're starting to move into this consciousness of, instead of, well, I don't know why that happened, so God must have done it, to, I don't know why that happens, let me figure it out. And then starting to figure it out and say, wait a minute, this isn't God. And I think it's starting to become more apparent with the younger
Well, and they
generation.
still could. See, and that's the brilliant part about the brilliant adaptive part of faith systems is that the faith impulse is that it doesn't, you know, people will, well, you're you know, often it'll end up being looked at as, you know, you're moving the goalpost. No, not moving the goalpost. You're forgetting the fact that faith is not it's not a system. It's a activity
right.
to curb, to be okay with ignorance. So it's the ultimate reflection of, I don't know, but I need to, so therefore this.
Okay, then
And
the systematic way
religion
of thinking,
gets
then.
a really big...
We'll reword that. I think we're moving away from the systematic way of thinking of, okay, it doesn't make sense. God did it. No questions asked.
Oh yeah, we're definitely moving past the simplicity of that.
It wouldn't surprise me that maybe in 1,000, 1,500, maybe in fucking million years, we're gonna come down to a point where it's like, what the fuck were these dumb motherfuckers thinking? What the fuck were they fighting over? As far as it comes down to, you know, my imaginary friend is better than yours. This is where I think human consciousness is now moving into. And as, you know, Christians go on about, you know, Christians, Muslims, everyone goes on about this Armageddon fucking end of the world bullshit. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the actual end game of the faith. It wasn't the end of humanity. It was telling the story of the end game of the actual belief in itself. And the rapture, quote unquote, are the people that are going to go out and say, no, fuck you, you're wrong, and I'm going to kill you over it. That's, to me, that's how I interpreted the Bible and the story. Was it was the beginning of the faith with God creating everything on a fucking Tuesday down to the end of the belief. And it's not this hellfire and brimstone. I mean, yeah, shit's gonna fucking happen. Look at what's going on in the Mideast. That is as close to fucking Armageddon as we're gonna get, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't bring that into this.
I'm just saying.
We're gonna wrap this conversation
I'm just saying, as far as you want to get textual about, you know, textual evidence about it, you kind of read that shit and go, wait a minute. That looks familiar. Yeah, it's going to come at a fight, but I think it's telling the story of the eventual death of the belief and not the death of humanity. And this is...
That would be quite the modern interpretive...
And I personally think this is where we're starting to move to, is the death of the actual belief. Because I'm sorry, we're seeing people leave the belief on all aspects in fucking droves.
Yep. And depending on where you're at, they're also going back to it. And for that matter, they're leaving traditional forms.
Yes.
But they're not leaving behind the tendency to fill in the gaps with the quick and dirty.
I see. I call that the agnostic shift. Is what I call that. The agnostic shift.
Yeah. And so, and again, you know, a lot of that.
And we all know where the fuck that leads to. You turn around, you say you're agnostic. 99% of the time, you're just a fucking cunt hair's push away from atheism, and we all fucking know this. You know, we've all looked at agnostics and been like, make up your fucking mind already. Just come on, just take the fucking dive, you know? But that's honestly where I think...
I used to.
It's kind of like the swan song of the belief in itself. Which is why we're kind of seeing this upsurge in the Catholic again. And the huge stake in importance on what the fuck does the Pope have to say? Because I remember even growing up with John Paul II. Yeah, he was cool. Some people kind of took stock into what he had to say about shit. But not like now. I've seen it in my own fucking time. Not like now. Towards it's, you know, what's the Pope say about gay marriage?
It comes as no surprise that I think it's a little more complicated than that.
Oh my god, he said that about atheists, which I think the dude's cool, but, you know, stop protecting fucking kitty peddlers. But
all right. Let's try wrapping this one up before we go on any more tangents, because I said we were going to try keeping it under an hour. We've already gone past that.
Have we?
I had one more.
Yes, we have. Because this was a good conversation. That's why. This was
It was,
flowing.
and it's clearly evidence that David's going to be dragged back, kicking and screaming onto our show. So he'll be put into the stocks if it's really necessary.
What do you have to say about what, Keith? What do you want your soapbox about now?
No, it's not my soapbox. No, I wanted to talk about the war on Christmas.
Yay! More war.
Because as three folks who are, living without God.
Living without Jesus. Actually, no, the more
duties.
technical term would be Jesus for Christmas. We're living without
Jesus.
Jesus.
Our duties to wage war on Christmas every year. So, I'm going to go around the table. Jen, what have you done this Christmas to wage war against Jesus?
I have taken all my son's gifts and hidden them in my closet until he learns to go pee-pee on the potty. There is a Christmas tree here that remains off because he's so fascinated by it, and all the Christmas toys are locked in the closet until he goes pee-pee on the potty. I have completely stripped the holiday spirit from a 4-year-old, ladies and gentlemen.
God damn, that is evil.
Wow.
David, how do you top that?
So I actually have decided to combine Halloween and Christmas, dress up as a Puritan, and go all historical on Christian asses and go, you know what? We shouldn't be celebrating Christmas because this is all pagan, and we need to understand that Jesus was not born now.
Does this come with a stake and fire as well for practicing pagan beliefs?
Yeah, no, I actually think it's hilarious. It actually made the rounds for a little while, but it's just like the war on Christmas has been going on ever since Christians were the one doing it. And it's, for the longest time, they were like, recognize that this is a pagan holiday.
They're burning witches at the stake here.
It. Mm-hmm. Like, need to stop this. So no, I think it's.
Keith, what are you doing?
And now they're gonna be people who are listening, going, I knew it. He is a believer, and he finally said it.
You can't top the fact that I took away a 4-year-old's gifts to make him go pee-pee on the potty in front of a unlit Christmas tree.
Level of diabolicalness.
In front of an unlit Christmas tree.
I got nothing.
But I can say that
I feel so bad about it too. I do.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was
talking.
Go ahead. Anyways,
I'm just having a bad mommy moment.
Oh God.
Fuck you.
I definitely did not take the spirit away from a small child. However, I did sit by and take joy in watching people make their small animals get all festive. And by their small animals, I mean my cat had the festive bells put on, and for 3 days she sat on the couch and stared at me, looking at me going, why would you let this happen?
She's wondering when you're going to die so she can eat you.
Yeah, pretty much.
And for the record, no, this is not something that I do often. My son is an extremely willful 4-year-old. He understands what the potty is. He knows what he has to do, but because he doesn't have control over it, because he doesn't have, pure control over it, I had to take control in some aspect of it. So yes, I took away his toys, and he is earning them back each time he does go to the potty. I'm not withholding them forever. He knows where they are. I feel horrible about doing it. I do. But that's because I spoil the living fuck out of my child.
To this point in the episode, I simply want you to take away that in order to really rebel, constipate yourself.
Don't say that, because then that's going to get me in trouble. My son is the one that holds it. So now I withhold toys. So you want to hold something? I'm going to hold something back, goddamn. It's a battle of wills.
That can only end badly.
Actually, I'm winning because he did go and he got the TV back today. He finally realized if I just go pee-pee in the potty, I can watch TV. He wanted to watch TV. He went pee-pee. Had no dispute about it.
That's gonna set up something. That's gonna create issues.
You are so making me feel like a horrible ass mother, dude. Like seriously, you're making me feel like the worst mother in the world right now.
Have you met me?
Careful editing is gonna have this entire section really worse.
I do not punish my child for accidents. I don't make accidents a punishment. But you are not. No, I'm sorry. I understand we are two very willful people, but Queen trumps Prince. Period. Queen trumps Prince. This is it in my house.
Well, there you have
the
it.
band.
I won
I
the
will
war on
actually
Christmas.
agree with that. Queen does trump
Queen
the
totally
prince.
trumps
is better than
Prince.
Prince.
And
But
Prince.
he's a
Totally
Jehovah's
better.
Witness now, so there's
This
that.
is not the Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. His name is not fucking Joffrey.
Oh my god.
Yes,
swear to
I
God,
did it.
it's-
I
Oh,
brought
we're
potty
nip,
training
nip.
to
Right
Game of
here.
Thrones.
Alright. So, yeah. I could just mute Jen.
Good.
Mute that, asshole.
Well, it's muted already, but okay. Well,
I am.
it's a middle
Fuck
finger.
you.
It's not like
Oh
anybody
wait, no.
can
I
see
thought.
it.
Sorry.
Oh my god.
Oi.
Wow,
Have
that
fun.
was brilliant. All right. Dave, before we go, for those who haven't listened to the last episode you were on, which was episode number 10, where can people find you?
People can find me at lifeweavings.org. I do writing on everything from psychology to theology to social issues.
And
So
it's a
come on
really
down, drop a
conscious
note,
website. Like,
check me
that's the
out.
most accurate way I can describe it, is that it's extremely conscious, and I dig that.
It is. It's one of the most brilliant,
Yeah.
one of the more brilliant blogs, and it's unlike a lot of other blogs. You don't ramble on and on and on and
No.
on, and it's
No.
just a constant. It's a thought, and it makes sense. You present it, and in all honesty,
And it's broken up properly. It's not like
you have to read.
it's not like getting.
You have to read, but it's
Yeah,
not
but
dragging on for days.
it's not like getting lost in word porn
My
in his
goal
head.
is
You
to
know what I mean?
do is less than 1,000 words. So
Less than how many words?
1,000.
less than 1,000
That's about right.
That's brilliant.
to make a point.
But it's
That's
like you know when
Very
you read something somebody
concrete.
writes, and it's like you kind of walked into their head and got lost in this world of word porn in their head. It's not like that on your site. You know,
Oh,
like
no.
wall of text type of
Yeah.
shit. It's not like that on your site.
Oh, there are some old stuff that I could definitely show you.
I
That's
rate
definitely
social
bad.
media all
it would
day
feast your
long.
brain.
Dude, I
Oh my God,
rate
I
social
look back at
media
some of the
all
old
day
stuff.
long.
I'm like, oh my god, it's just
No, you don't understand. I rate
Well-
social media all day long. The shit that I see and have to evaluate all day long, you look like a fucking Rhodes Scholar compared to a lot of the shit that I have to evaluate all day long.
yeah. I am my worst critic, so we'll put it at that.
Fantastic. Well, before we close out tonight's episode, I obviously have to thank David for joining us. David, it's been
Yes,
an absolute
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, David. I love having you
thank
on
you
and
for
discussing
bringing
random
an air
shit
of
with you.
credibility to the show.
Thank you for
You're
classing
welcome.
this fucking joint up, man.
As always, Jen, thank you for being sassy and hilarious and short.
Keith, thank you for being quiet when you know you need to be. I'm totally joking. I love you. I love you. I'm totally joking. I love you.
Just one more quick announcement. I did mention this on Cellar Door Skeptics last night. We are officially on Stitcher,
Yes.
so if you have friends who they like to go to their podcatcher is Stitcher, tell them to go there, check us out. Again, as always, Not Another Atheist Podcast, WordPress.com. If you're really not sure how to find us, just Google Not Another Atheist Podcast.
And I have a
It
PSA.
works.
I'm a single mother. I'm broke. Spreaker costs money. Vote for Bernie Sanders, because that means we wouldn't be so broke anymore. Feel the burn.
This message has not been paid for or personally
No,
vetted by
it has
Bernie
not.
Sanders.
It's been personally vetted by the burning sensation of feel the burn in my ovaries that I get every time I hear this man speak. He's affecting the next generation through your ovaries, people. Feel the burn. It's good for the kids.
With the image of burning ovaries in your mind.
Tingling. Okay, I'll use
Thank
the
you
word
guys for-
tingling. Tingling
Thank you
ovaries.
for joining us for this Ramblecast.
Thank you so much for joining us, son. Thank you. I always enjoy having you.
The Not Another Atheist Podcast experience is run by Jen and Keith. If you wish to contact the hosts, please write to nehehp@gmail.com. They can also be found at facebook.com/NotAnotherAtheistPodcast or search Not Another Atheist Podcast on iTunes to subscribe and leave reviews.
It's Davey.
I have texture issues, okay?
It would feast your brain.
That totally went to a different place. The
That's all, folks.
I'm picking up my panties and I'm going home. Okay.